Okay, we're about to unpack one of the most mysterious figures in the entire Old Testament. I mean, this guy shows up for just a couple of verses, vanishes for 1,000 years, and yet he holds the key to one of the biggest, most important arguments in the whole New Testament. You ready? Let's dive in. So it all kicks off right here in the book of Genesis. You're reading along, it's this ancient war story, and then boom, this man, Melchizedek, just appears out of nowhere. He's a king, he's a priest, and he brings bread and wine. His entrance is so sudden, so significant, and totally wrapped in mystery. So that's the big question, right? Who was this guy? The text, it gives us just enough to know he's a big deal, like incredibly important. But it also leaves us with a ton of questions. So let's play detective and start piecing together the clues. Okay, so our investigation has to start with his one and only historical appearance. It's this brief but really powerful meeting he has with the patriarch Abraham. And Abraham is the foundational figure for all of Israel, so this is a major event. All right, so here's everything we've got from Genesis. This is our entire case file. First, he's the king of a place called Salem. He's also a priest of the Most High God, a title Abraham clearly recognizes and respects. Then he does two really important things. He blesses Abraham, and then he receives a tenth, a tithe, of all the spoils of war from Abraham. Trust me, every single one of these details is a crucial piece of the puzzle. And that little detail, the blessing, it tells you everything about the hierarchy here. See, in the ancient world, and really all through the Bible, it's a solid principle. The greater person blesses the lesser one. No question about it. So the fact that Melchizedek blesses Abram, the great patriarch himself, that's huge. It immediately tells you that Melchizedek is in a position of superior authority. But the clues aren't just in what he does. They're actually hidden in plain sight, right in his name and his title. And this is where the mystery really starts to crack open into something way, way bigger. So get this. When you actually translate the original Hebrew, Melchizedek literally means king of righteousness. And Salem, the city he's king of, it shares the same root as shalom, which means peace. So what do we have? The king of righteousness and the king of peace. Come on. These aren't just random titles. They're basically job descriptions telling us about his character and his rule and pointing towards something absolutely perfect. And then nothing. Just silence. After this absolutely incredible meeting, Melchizedek completely vanishes from the biblical record. For nearly 1,000 years, not another word is written about him. He's basically a historical footnote. That is, until a new clue pops up in the most unexpected place. Let's just pause for a second and really appreciate this timeline. The gap is just immense. The first clue is dropped back in Genesis with Abraham. 1,000 years go by. Then King David writes a prophetic psalm. Then another 1,000 years pass before the author of Hebrews finally puts all the pieces together. We're talking about a serious long-game mystery here. And here it is, clue number 2. In a psalm all about a future messianic king, David writes this really cryptic line. He says that God makes an unbreakable oath, a sworn promise, that this future king will also be a priest. But here's the kicker. He won't be from the normal Israelite priesthood. Nope. He'll be from a completely different order, the order of Melchizedek. And just like that, our ancient priest king is linked to a future eternal priesthood. All right, now let's fast forward to the New Testament. The author of the book of Hebrews picks up this ancient thread and finally solves the mystery. And how does he do it? By putting the order of Melchizedek side by side with the priesthood his audience knew inside and out, the Levitical priesthood. You have to understand, for centuries, Israel's priesthood was a closed system. It was super strictly defined. You had to be from the tribe of Levi, a direct descendant of Aaron. It was all about your bloodline. But these priests, well, they were human. They died, so they had to be replaced. And they were sinful, so they had to offer sacrifices for their own sins before they could even think about offering them for the people. For the folks reading Hebrews back then, this was the only system. It was the whole deal. So to suggest another kind of priesthood, that was radical. It was almost unthinkable. This was the only way they knew to approach God. And this slide right here, this is the heart of the entire argument. Just look at the contrast. It's black and white. The Levitical priesthood is all about your family tree, right? Hereditary. Melchizedek's is based on a direct divine oath from God. The Levites were mortal. Priests die. But Melchizedek's order is eternal, a priest forever. Genealogy was everything for the Levites. For Melchizedek, Genesis is completely silent about his parents or his death. And the author of Hebrews brilliantly points this out, saying, see, his priesthood doesn't depend on lineage. It's a totally different and frankly a superior kind of priesthood, one that offers a better hope through one single final sacrifice. So, okay, why does any of this matter? Why are we digging through this ancient history? Because when it comes right down to it, this isn't really about Melchizedek. It's about who his priesthood was pointing to all along. Now, to be clear, the author of Hebrews isn't saying Melchizedek was Jesus in a past life or something. He's saying Melchizedek was a type. Think of it like a preview or a pattern. He was a real historical person, but his life and his story were divinely designed to foreshadow something greater. That intentional silence in Genesis about his birth or his death, it makes him the perfect picture of the eternal Son of God, who is, you guessed it, a priest forever. And folks, this is the ultimate payoff. This is the so what. Because Jesus is a high priest from this superior, eternal order, it changes everything. It means we have a better hope. We have direct access to God in a way the old system just couldn't provide. It means a better covenant, a stronger promise from God, guaranteed, not by a flawed human bloodline, but by God's own unbreakable oath. And it means we have an eternal intercessor, someone who is always there, speaking on our behalf, who doesn't die and need to be replaced. He always lives to represent us, and because of that, he's able to save to the uttermost, completely and forever. So we end up right back where we started, with this mysterious figure. Isn't it amazing? What started as just a few cryptic verses in Genesis blossoms into this incredibly profound theological argument. It just goes to show you how a priest-king who served bread and wine thousands of years ago was actually a giant signpost pointing across the vastness of history to an eternal priesthood that would completely redefine our ability to connect with God